Welcome to the Business Development Podcast, brought to you by the Global Business Development Association, delivering the strategies and tactics to boost your career and corporate growth.
Hello, BD pros, and welcome to the Global Business Development Association's podcast called What is Business Development? Now, folks, I'm going to share with you some pretty shocking statistics. Just came out today from our guest and his research. Here's the big one. 65% of companies provide little or no BD training or support to their people. Let's let that one sink in a little bit. 65% of companies provide little or no BD training or support to their people. And some of you may be sitting there going, yeah, I feel you. I know exactly what that's like. I'm at a company. They're not providing any training to me. And that's why I'm listening to this show. Well, guess what? You're in the right place, because today we have a fantastic guest, Darren Spevick. And Darren is he's just a wonderful expert and business developer. He's a founder and managing director of Russell Strategy Partners, and they're an award-winning business development consultancy in the United Kingdom. And he is absolutely passionate about business development, and he believes that every company has untapped potential waiting to be unleashed. With a proven track record of winning new clients and nurturing existing relationships, he's dedicated to helping organizations thrive. Put simply, he loves business development. But look, he has so much expertise that he shares with his audience on LinkedIn. I follow him regularly. I really like the work that he does. And, if you're looking for help with business development, he helps many different types of businesses with their business development strategy, consulting, upskilling, training, health checks, even just to make sure that they're still on the right path to success. And he helps different verticals, whether it's management consulting firms, law firms, marketing agencies, research organizations, recruiters, supply chain company. I mean, it goes on with the list. So he's not specific to a vertical. He helps a broad base of companies develop their BD mindset, build the tool sets, build the skill sets to have the confidence to engage in business development. Here to give us all a big boost in confidence in business development today is our guest, Darren Spevick. Darren, thank you for joining us.
Oh, thanks, Taylor. It's quite an introduction. Thank you, and very honoured and pleased to be with you today. So thank you, and also a big admirer of your work and seeing the stuff that you post as well. So I feel we're of a kindred spirit.
We are kindred spirits indeed. I always tell people business development is a team sport. We play
Absolutely.
to win. And we always collaborate, and we share the best of breed practices together, and that's what we're doing to get together today. So Darren, thanks again for joining the show. And I always like to ask our guests, how did you get into business development?
If I look back on my career, I've always been in business development. I probably didn't realise it at first. I soon realised that 90% of my job was business development. Actually, probably 100% of my job was business development, from finding clients, from looking at market data, identifying things, joining up the dots, keeping in touch with people. The people I placed at one point, they soon became my clients because I gave them good service and they liked me. That was business development, and I love that. And I think after 20 odd years, Tony, I was finally honest with myself that I'd fallen out of love with actually doing the recruitment, but I love the business development. My wife's a lawyer, many friends are lawyers, accountants, consultants, and they all said to me, we're not very good at this thing called business development. We have to do it, but we don't like it. So I thought, well, maybe there's a problem there I can help solve. So 3 years ago, I took a leap of faith, backed myself and said, well, I'm going to set up a company to help those people. That's what I want to do. So I set up Russell Strategy Partners, and here we are nearly 3 years later.
Yeah, I love that origin story. And I like the fact that you're helping a broad base of verticals. And really, business development is universal for all companies. If you don't have any business development, well, you don't have any business. So it's critical that folks get the business development training. And I want to share some of the results from your study. You just posted about it on LinkedIn today. These are shocking results. They're part of your BD Pulse survey that folks can easily just log on and provide some input into your survey. I'll let you talk about the details of how the survey works, but it gives you a health check. And the average total score to date was only 46% in the health check, the BD health check, to identify your blind spots. And wow, okay, companies have a lot of room for improvement. I know in the US grading scale, that is a solid F in on anybody's BD test. But here's some really interesting facts too. I'll just share with the audience today, and we'll have a copy of this in the show notes so folks can just click the link and read your study and learn more about the BD Pulse, and we'll send folks to that landing page too. But as far as BD strategy is concerned, only 18% of companies felt that everyone in the company knew what their BD strategy was and were aligned to delivering it. Yeah. How many times have we seen that? Oh, yeah, we created a great BD strategy for the entire company. This is wonderful. Great. Did you share it with anybody? Well, no, just the senior leadership team. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. It's
That's
a waste of
wonderful.
time. Yeah.
Yeah, big waste of time and money. Oftentimes it's money. And then the next thing is client development, where only 35% of the companies revisit and refine their client development plans regularly. Big trap there, folks. People often think business development, oh, well, that's just prospecting. And then we'll kick it over to sales to close them, bring them in, convert them as clients. And then after that, hey, BD, don't get anywhere near the client. Okay. We just want you out there prospecting until several years later when the customer becomes unhappy and says, hey, you know what? We think we're ready to switch providers. We don't want to be with you anymore. Whoa, let's get the BD guys back in there and help things smooth out a little bit. Well, I'll tell you what, folks, it's too late at that point. Okay. We're business developers. We're not magicians. We have to be involved through the entire customer journey. Keep us engaged during the customer success phase, because then we can help you get to the customer growth phase of the relationship where the clients love you, they are raving fans, and they start providing referrals free to you. And by the way, referrals are the top tactic for business development conversion. Okay. Some firms have over 50% conversion rate on referrals. Here's another interesting fact: BD skills. 65% of companies provide little or no BD training. I mentioned that at the beginning, and it is just shocking to see this. Okay. And you may be sitting there and suffering in silence, going, wow, I really need some BD training. Well, I'm sure Darren's going to help you find your pathway, especially if you're in the United Kingdom, on how you can get some real good BD training. And then another fact is 70% of respondents felt that their organizations were good at winning new clients. Now that's an interesting fact. That's a nice little positive there, that they felt that they could win the business. But as we saw previously with the other statistic, they're probably doing a good job of losing those clients too. And it's fine. It's like filling a bucket with a hole in the bottom. Okay. You better be really good at winning business. If you're, if you're winning 70% of your clients, but you're losing 60% of them, you need to be winning a lot. And then the last two statistics here are shockers. 41% that they either don't have a customer relationship management solution, CRM solution, or if they do, it's not being used properly. Yeah, I've seen that many times before. CRM, nobody wants to put information in it, and then the data in there is bad, and then it makes it difficult for leadership to try and leverage it for growth success. And then finally, 59% of people said there was little cross-selling or internal referrals. Yep, I've seen this too. Again, if you have the business developers involved or the business development mindset, you'll be cross-pollinating throughout your organization, sharing those leads effectively. So, Darren, let's pick apart a little bit those statistics. Which ones really jump out at you and are the most striking?
hard to pull them apart because I think all of them really struck a chord with me. But I think on a few that really stand out, client development. The amount of organizations I've met with where they go through an annual exercise to do a great big account plan for the next 12 months, and lots of time, effort, this huge document, and it gets approved, and then it gets put in the drawer or saved on a drive, and no one looks at it again until month 11. So, oh, are we on track? Did we do what we said we were going to do? Again, what a waste of time and energy. These plans should be your pathway to, how are we going to grow this client? What are we going to do? What's the strategy behind it? If they're not using it for that, it's a waste of time. So I see that too often. Or there's no plan at all. It's just serendipity. We just hope they're going to give us more business. We just hope something's going to happen. So have a plan. Think about how we're going to grow. So I think those are an underutilized BD tool to really help people. You've touched on the BD skills and context. You said at the start, this survey was across predominantly business and professional service organizations. So that was the target audience behind this. So you've got a lawyer or an accountant or an account manager in a marketing agency. These people are expected to do business development as a part of their job, whether it's winning more business from an existing client or new business. But often they're not trained in this. It's nature and nurture. Some people think, well, you're either born with the BD skills or you're not. Oh, actually, this can be nurtured. You can develop it. And there's no one size fits all approach. So everyone's got their own personality style and what works for them. So that's what we try to bring out of them and give them that confidence and overcome those fears. But yeah, that's a shocker. How can you wouldn't expect your plumber to turn up that hasn't been trained and qualified to fix your plumbing? Why are you expecting people to go out and do BD when it's an art, it's a science, it's a skill? Support them, give them the tools to go and be successful. It's amazing that it's not happening.
Yeah, so many of these firms, I'll call them firms that operate in the high intent threshold arena. Some people say it's B2B, B2G, whatever the case, enterprise sales. I call it high intent threshold, which means the customer, the prospect actually must have a high degree of trust in you before they are willing to work with you and to continue working with you once they are clients. And it is a very difficult business development environment to succeed in. And too many people I see, especially in these highly skilled professions like attorneys, they are thrown into the deep end of, okay, well, you need to be a rainmaker, make magic happen.
Yeah.
and they're wonderful lawyers, but if they cannot contribute to the growth of the firm, then their growth as an attorney in that profession will be stymied. Can you share with us your top tactics, your top methodology for folks to learn how to be a success in business development, especially for those where business development is considered, quote unquote, a side job?
Yeah, I think there are so many elements. So to focus on a couple, when I think about business development, I think about maybe the 4 or 5 P's to define it. So the one is plan. Have a plan. Who are we going after? Who are our potential targets? Which organizations do we think we will want growth from? And why? Why would we be a good partner with them? What problems are we solving? Why should they partner with us? And how are we going to go to market and how are we going to engage them? To have a plan. Many people I speak to don't have a plan. Many companies don't have a plan. So first is having a plan. Then, and you touched on it a moment ago, with these organizations, it is very much about trust. So how do we build that trust? And for me, it's about being personal. I'm really focusing on how do I develop that relationship? How can I make sure I'm authentic? How can I give first to maybe gain later and pay it forward? I'm a big believer in karma, and I think it will come back to you in some way, shape, or form, and somewhere in the universe. So that personal, to build that trust, that's going to be fundamental. And then it's about being proactive. There are so many factors outside of our control, but the one thing we can control in BD is our own activity. And how can we be proactive and mixing it up? And variety is the spice of life. There's lots of different activities and things that we can engage in. It's not just emails and phone calls. There's tons of different things that you can be doing. So being proactive. And then lastly, and this is sometimes the realism of, you have to be patient and persistent. Sometimes it does take time. We've got to wait for other things to align, but we've got to keep going. You don't give up at the first hurdle. Don't give up because you don't get a response to an email, or they've said no now, or not now is not the right time. Keep going. Find a different way. Be creative, but be patient, be persistent, and at some point, and it has taken me, some clients I'm working with, has taken a year or two of persistence before the time was right and they were willing to engage, or something else had happened. So keep going. So those are things for me. Plan, be personal, proactive, patient, and persistent, and that defines for me. And how do we bring all of that together?
All right, I love that. Let's dig into each one of these individually, can we? I know you kind of
Sure.
summarized them, but I would love to kind of deep dive on each one. So the first one with a plan, as we always like to say, uh, no plan survives first contact. That's a military phrase.
Okay.
But I always like to say nobody survives first contact without a plan.
Right.
And so the planning, of course, is the foundation. But let's talk about what goes into the plan. I know you mentioned, first of all, identify who is your ideal customer, that ideal customer profile. But what else goes into that plan? Is it an actual execution plan of, okay, we're going to call them on this date, this person's going to engage them? How do you structure those plans? Or is it an account plan, or is it broader based across the entire organization?
It will operate at different levels. There could be more at the organizational level, thinking of the broad strategy for that practice group or for the organization, and thinking about the segments and the companies, and at a higher level. Then when I'm working with people on a one-to-one basis, then we'll get into the nitty-gritty detail of, well, how are you going to do this, and what are those tactics, and holding people accountable, for, okay, we said we're going to do X by Y by the next time that we speak. So people are going forward and doing those different activities. And for some of the people that we've spoken about in the professional service world, for them, they will feel uncomfortable with some of these. For often they feel uncomfortable with some of these activities. They see sales as maybe a dirty word. They don't see themselves as salespeople. So it's getting them over that, getting them comfortable to do some of these activities, whether it's from doing a LinkedIn post. It once took me about 6 months to convince somebody to do this, and the world wasn't going to end, and they did it, and it didn't end, and it went well for them. But they just had such a barrier to overcome, and everyone's got those individual barriers and different factors. So how do we identify that and help them get out of their own way, so they can be successful? Because they're the only ones really holding themselves back. But how can we make it easy for them? So yeah, it's at a corporate level, working on that bigger piece strategy, and then at the individual, what can they do, and how are they going to implement that? So we'll tailor that around the individual and the business that they're operating in.
Yeah, I like how you emphasize the part about the personalized training pathway for each member of the firm or the company. Is a big part of that plan, sounds like it is, what is your training approach to get everybody into the comfort zone of being a business developer? And part of that is a comfort zone of mindset, in addition to the tactics and operations strategy training. And it sounds like your experience, Darren, is getting people into that cultural mindset of, no, business development is, first of all, it's not sales. Okay.
Yep.
I always emphasize to people that is a separate and distinct profession. Salespeople are highly skilled at conversion. Their job is to convert prospects as efficiently and as effectively as possible into clients. That's very different than what business developers do. Now, you do have BD people who do sales. They do submit bids. They do convert prospects into clients. But for the most part, it's business development is providing value. It's a noble profession of delivering value to your prospects, where over time you're building trust with them.
Yep.
So I really like how you make that a staple of the overall strategic plan for a firm, and then you drill down to each individual employee to kind of customize the training for their personality, their perspectives, their comfort level, and their tactical proficiency level. That's wonderful that you guide your clients in that direction. Okay, let's jump to the next component of your 5P methodology. So that's building the personal relationships based on trust. Can you elaborate a little bit more about that?
Yeah, and look, trust takes time to develop. And I think my biggest frustration in the world of BD over the past couple of years are people hiding behind emails, people hiding behind LinkedIn, and thinking that's the only way to communicate, and not getting in front of their customers, not asking for meetings, and let's have that coffee, have that lunch, do whatever. That's the way you start to really build that relationship. You get proper FaceTime with somebody, you look them in the eye, you get to know them, their personality, their family, all of those softer things, and they get to know you as well. Um, and you find ways to say, I often ask, how can I help you? That's one of my favorite questions. And people say, oh, that's great for you to ask. They don't always expect it. And then say, well, let me connect you with people. Let's find a reason that I can introduce you to somebody else. There's nothing in it for me. I'm not doing it for gain. But you've told me you're interested in A, B, C. I know A, B, and C. Let me join up those dots. Let me help you on your journey. And that starts to build trust. And they think, yeah, he's a good guy. And we start to have different conversations. And it builds over time. But again, you've got to be proactive with it, and persistent. And clients tell me, I'm sure they do with you as well, they tell you all kinds of things about their business, the kind of organizations or industries or other things that are of interest. So now it's on my radar, it's in my brain somewhere. And then something pops up, I see a news report, I see a LinkedIn post or something, and I fire it onto them. I thought this would be of interest. You told me you're interested in, here, have a look at this. So small gestures like that go a long, long way. And then eventually, they're not buying yet. You're building that trust, and it can take time. But eventually, when they do have a need, they think, yeah, actually BD or something comes up, I need to speak to Darren, because you've been there, you've been consistent in the background and helping them in different ways. And I know when a few times it's happened, Tony, I think there's a real value when you really do become that trusted advisor, when a client calls you and says, Darren, I know this is not your area of expertise, but I know you know people. We're struggling with X. Do you know somebody that can help me? So clients are proactively coming to you for that wider network because they know I'm going to help them. I'd say there's a huge compliment when that happens. So yeah, I think it just takes time, but it takes intent, but it's being authentic with it. There's many people that would try to do it, but it will come across inauthentic, and they say, yeah, this is just a sales ploy. So you've got to follow through. If you say you're going to introduce somebody, introduce them. Nothing's worse than not doing it. People remember that. So yeah, that authenticity and persistence definitely pays off.
Yeah, so I really like your approach here on building those personal relationships based on trust. And trust is, as we talk about in the business development body of knowledge, it is scientifically proven based on neuroscience that trust equals purpose plus empathy plus truth. And your whole going in position is the empathy side of what can I do to help you? I'm just here to help you. I often tell folks, look, business development is like being a lifeguard. I'm here to help you. Okay. I'm not the cops. That's the
Yeah,
sales team. They're,
yeah,
yeah, they can drag you away. But that's not what I'm here for. I'm here to give you insights. I'm here. And, I also like, I often tell folks, leading with value, that's great. Sometimes you have prospects who will just kind of clam up and they really don't have anything that they can think of. So I also like to do research in advance going into that first meeting and say, hey, I've done some research and I think you might be struggling in this area. Am I right? Or I saw this new industry trend. What are you guys doing about that? It
yeah,
looks like, are you getting blindsided? Is there something you need help with? Are there people you want to connect with? Let's have the, and then when you do that, here's what comes out of those discussions. If you do it right, a whole list of action items. Oh,
yeah,
okay. Oh, yeah. I know 3 people. Let me tell you a little bit about them. Yeah. Okay. I'll make those intros. Great. Yeah. I'll send that article to you. Yeah. That'll be good. So now you have all of these built-in touch points that lead right into your next, the P's that you talked about, which is being proactive, right? First of all, you say, look, if you're having that first meeting, you're building trust, deliver. Okay, it has to be a truthful engagement. Don't just
Yeah,
take a list there and then never follow up with them, because you've lost credibility at that point.
yeah.
You're not trustworthy. Okay, so when you talk about that third P and being proactive, um, what you're saying is, first of all, be responsive when they reach out to you, which, by the way, is a wonderful key performance indicator that you're building trust. What you're saying is be responsive. But I also think what you're saying, Darren, if I heard you correctly, is have your radar up and keep that client in the back of your mind. So, or that prospect, I should say, in the back of your mind, their needs, their extrinsic needs, their intrinsic needs. Okay, and understand what's really important to them. And then when something pops up on your radar, you see a new industry trend or an article, a helpful statistic or something like that, or a new possible opportunity, for them to grow their business, you send it their way. You're being proactive. Am I right with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think showing your prospect that you are thinking about them, that you care about them, and you are proactively, you're having other conversations, but they're coming to your mind, and you're trying to help and join those dots, and you are doing something about it, um, rather than it going quiet for 3 or 6 months, or you're just spamming them with generic emails or whatever. But something that's really meaningful, intentful, shows I care. I'm thinking about you. I'm here when you need me. And I think all of those things line up and gear up to making it easier for them to buy from me at some point in the future. I agree that there's a big distinction between trying to sell to someone and your client buying from you. And I'm a big fan of how do we get the clients to want to buy from us? And it comes down to trust and all of those different things. So yeah, I think that's the intent. Have that radar going, keep it there. It sometimes can be difficult if you are talking to a lot of prospects. How do you remember everything? I think from my recruitment days, my head was my database. I knew the candidates, things would pop up. So I've been kind of trained that way. So for me, that's a bit easier. But find a mechanism that works for you. What are those triggers that you can use to make you look like you're really on top of the game? My contacts with someone say you're really good at following up. What you said in 3 months you're going to follow up, and 3 months a day you followed up. How do you do it? I said, well, I don't tell them all my secrets, but there's a way I organize myself, my time, and my prompts to make sure I do those things, and it just looks professional, and people buy into that. I believe.
Yeah, Darren, you triggered me with one of the things you said there, which was don't send generic spammy content that is it's a huge turnoff, because it's not personalized to their needs. It's
Yeah,
efficient and you can
yeah,
send it to all of your prospects at once. That's great, but that's not valuable to them. And I'll share with you one of the things I love to do. I go to a lot of conferences, and I will sit in a conference, listen to a speaker, and the speaker may mention a new possible opportunity or something that directly influences my prospect or client. I will take pictures of the slides on my
yeah,
phone. I will text it or email it to them right there while I'm sitting during the presentation, saying, hey, I'm sitting in this conference. I'm listening to this presentation. I thought you'd really like it. Do you want me to ask the speaker any questions for you? And
yeah, yeah,
they love it, right? I mean, because, and I love doing that too. I mean, that's why business development is so much fun, because you're helping people. You're operating from a servant leader position. And for so many people who are stuck in a mindset of, oh, business development is just sales by another name, I don't want
yeah.
to do that. You have the wrong mindset. That's not what we're doing here, folks. And
So,
Darren,
Tony,
you also, yeah, I'm sorry, jump in, please.
if I may, just so you talk about conferences there, one of my favorite tips that I give to some of the people that I work with is when you're at a conference and you're hearing the talk, is to ask a question, is to stand up, grab hold of that microphone. You've got however many eyes looking at you, and you can say, I'm Tony Gray from XYZ or Darren from RSP. And suddenly everyone's looking at you, and I can ask the question, hopefully an intelligent question that resonates. But then when I go out into the hall afterwards, people know who I am. People will come up to me. People will talk. It's a great way to build your personal brand within those events. So I always encourage people, if they've got the confidence, to stand up, tell them who you are, ask a question. It will pay back for you and make the conference even more fun. So yeah,
Oh
just wanted
my,
to share that with you.
Hey, are you copying off my paper, Darren? Because that's one of my favorite tactics. It's so funny. Two guys, opposite business developers across the world from each other. And that I love that tactic. I use it. Make sure you first of all, ask a smart question. Second of all, say what company you work with, your
Yeah,
name, what your
yeah,
role is. That way everybody remembers who the smart guy was that asked the question. Love that tactic. I've used it from time to time as well. This is so funny. We should have a brainstorming session and see which tactics
absolutely.
we like to use. But again, you're operating from a position of giving, and when you do that, look, you should be an expert in your industry if you're in the right business development mindset. And when you stand up and ask a very thoughtful question, yes, of course, you're asking a thoughtful question to get an answer for yourself, but you're also helping educate the rest of the people in the audience. And that's why they see value. And that's why they walk up and talk to Darren. So, folks, if you want to talk to Darren, you can do that by reaching out to him on LinkedIn. He's very accessible. He's a wonderful person, very responsive when I reached out to him. Darren, where can folks reach you, follow your work, connect with you?
As I say, the best place, LinkedIn. I live and breathe on LinkedIn. I think I've been on it for 19 years. I think LinkedIn told me. So I'm on it all day most of the time. So that's a great place. Or go to my website, russellsp.com, and go to the Connect, and you can set up a date through Calendly. That's the easiest way to make an appointment and get 30 minutes of my time. So either or, and be great to connect with people and have a chat.
Well, Darren, thank you so much for sharing the insights for your study that you've done. And again, folks, we'll have that in the show notes with a link where you can get access to the actual post with the numbers and the landing page for the survey. You can use that for your own organization's BD health check and try out the 5 Ps from Darren Spevick. Plan and plan at the corporate level, and then also at the individual level. Remember, no plan survives first contact, but nobody survives first contact without a plan. Second, build those personal relationships based on trust. And then next, be proactive. If you say you're going to do something, do it. If you see an opportunity to provide value to your prospect or client, send it to them. And fourth, be patient. It takes time. Don't force it. Don't rush it. Don't be desperate. You are here to help your prospects and clients succeed. And that takes time. Just be patient. And finally, be persistent. As I always like to say, persistence pays. And you know what also pays? Getting together with Darren Spevick. Reach out to him if you are in the UK, in Europe, anywhere in the world, and you need some training, you need some insight, you need some guidance, you need some planning, you need some solid BD growth support. Reach out to Darren, folks. Darren, thank you so much for joining us on the show today.
Thanks, Tony. Really appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you for listening to the Business Development Podcast. Join our free community of corporate partners and business development professionals advancing the art, science, and ethics of the business development profession at gbdassociation.org.